Hey guys, how's it going? Kevin Cleary here with a video for you. And today I want to talk about a couple of different things. Primarily though, I want to focus on being a YouTube knife reviewer and being a part of that sort of YouTube knife community. No one's showing up yet, so we're going to give things a couple of minutes before we get going too crazy here. Let me grab a couple of other items. Let's see. Hey, how's it going? Throw in the light and the pen. And let me move a couple of things around here just a little bit. Okay, so Josh, what's up, man? Okay, so what I want to do is talk a little bit about being a YouTube knife reviewer, talk about some of the pluses and minuses of that, some of the thought process that I go through, when I'm thinking about what videos to make, where I am in terms of my collection. I will say that's one thing that I would suggest is a major impact, I will say, on the knives that I own, the knives I collect, is, I'm sure my collection would look very different if I wasn't a YouTuber. If I was doing this, if I was just collecting or if I was just having, doing something, what would you say? Let me pause for a second there and think. It's the Victorinox Forester right here. Really, really cool knife. I have reviewed it. This was actually sent to me by a viewer, and it's definitely a knife that's changed my mind about Victorinox. I have a Swiss Champ, but this one is pretty well done. I mean, it's still Victorinox steel, so it's not like crazy edge holding or anything like that, but it will take a very keen edge. It's super, super slim, so you can see, it works pretty nicely as a slicer. Anyway, so sorry guys, I'm getting way off topic here. Let's bring this full circle and begin talking a little bit about being a creator on YouTube who is doing a knife channel. I think the first thing to kind of think about along those lines is that the knife community is a bit of a niche community. Yeah, a lot of people own folding knives, but not a lot of people are going to be interested in folding knives to such an extent that they're actually going to watch more than one video about it, or they're going to, watch beyond the time that, they're shopping, right? And I think we've all done this. There's lots of things I'm sure you're interested in buying that you just need one of, and so you're going to watch a few video reviews of the couple of whatever, new pair of shoes, or I don't know, some outdoor gear or something you're interested in, but you're not going to watch multiple videos. So it does put you in a bit of a niche market. And so, you're going to get a different response in terms of, online presence and the kind of numbers you're going to pull, those kinds of things. Cold playing games. Sorry, don't get it. Anyway, so I wanted to kind of put that out there right away. So let's go ahead now and start talking about the first thing that I wanted to bring up, and that is, what is fun about having a knife channel? In all honesty, in my life, I don't have time to worry about, oh, cold steel playing games. There you go. In my life, I don't have time to do stuff that is really, miserable, that's really uncomfortable, that's annoying. There are enough things that I have to do in life that adding more to that list is not, at all interesting to me. So for me to do YouTube and to make these videos and to kind of be involved in the knife community, it's got to be fun for me, right? I've got to enjoy it. And so because of that, I emphasize, I guess, on this channel the things that I like and I enjoy, and I do the kind of things that I like and I enjoy. And there are some things that, although maybe very popular or maybe could get me a few more views or something like that, if it's not something I enjoy, I'm not really going to bother with it, because the fun that I get out of making these videos is really more important to me. So the first thing that I do find, William here, let the games begin. Hey, good point. Yeah, that would be nice. So the first thing that I really enjoy about YouTube is talking with you guys, is being able to share my thoughts and to get some feedback from the knife community. And, outside of YouTube, probably like many of you, there are not a lot of people in my immediate circle of friends or even in my immediate area who are as into knives as I am. So that means, yeah, there's not a lot of people to kind of converse with and spend time talking about the knife hobby. And YouTube gives me a nice way that I can communicate my thoughts and the things that I'm excited about with all of you. But it also gives me a great chance to get feedback from you guys and sort of hear you sort of share your thoughts and ideas and share a bit of that excitement that comes with something new or something cool, or sharing a knife that you're absolutely in love with. Those kinds of, it's nice to be able to talk to some people who kind of get it. And I would say that's one of the biggest things that I get from um, having this channel, and the biggest piece of enjoyment that I get. And I have to say that, this I'm saying this in all sincerity. I have the best subscribers around. You guys, if you read the comments on my videos, there's no stupidity. There's no, the kind of stuff you normally see online with people calling each other all kinds of stupid names and getting into fights and meaningless debates and stuff. You don't see that very often on my channel, and in my either on in these videos or in the comments. You also see, even on Sharp Stuff, which is the Facebook page that's kind of associated with this, you don't see that kind of stuff either. And so, I really do feel like, don't jinx it. Yeah, I know. Um, don't worry. The the block button still works. So even if some troll comes along, it's pretty simple to deal with. Um, and the other thing is, I'm pretty thick-skinned, so people can kind of say what they want. It's just gonna be, the trolls are always watching. Very true. So that's probably the funnest part, is just kind of interacting with you guys, seeing your comments. I know I don't reply to every single one, but I do read every one, and I actually try to reply. I will say, especially if I get a comment that kind of tweaks my interest, or it's a discussion I want to have, I might be a little more inclined to react. So that's the first thing. The thing that I like probably the most about having a YouTube channel is just being able to interact with you guys and have some others of a like mind, okay, that I can share with. The other thing that I like is the thought that maybe sometime, somewhere along the lines, I have helped someone. Maybe they were looking for the most perfect knife, or maybe, they were about to buy something that was a total piece of junk, but then they watched my review and like, man, I better avoid that one. Hopefully I haven't led too many people astray, although I'm sure I've done enough of that as well. But the idea that, hey, somebody out there is getting some benefit or some value from what I'm doing, that's really, really cool. And a lot of you guys have talked about how we agree on different things, and how, you've got certain knives that I've reviewed and how you absolutely love them. And that kind of thing is really fun as well. Of course, it's also fun to disagree and have it out about those kind of things. That's one thing that is a bit of a, I don't know, maybe a personality twerk that I have, where I tend to be a person who kind of likes to disagree a little bit and to maybe even be disagreeable. So, I'm the kind of guy who, if everyone is on a Facebook feed and they're all sort of saying one thing, I'm going to chime in and say, yeah, guys, but what about this? Not to be argumentative, but because I want to try to challenge people. And I may even totally agree with this, with whatever's being said, but I'll play devil's advocate a little and pretend that I disagree. And so I really enjoy the dialogue and the discussion back and forth. That's a lot of fun. The other thing that's, of course, a lot of fun, a fairly obvious thing, is, thanks, Blaze on Blades. The other thing that I really enjoy about having a YouTube channel is getting to handle cool knives. Not only do I get to handle knives that I've bought or traded for, but I end up having, individuals, a number of you guys, maybe some of you who are even watching right now, have sent me stuff either for me to review, or you'd like my thoughts on it, or, I think it's really cool, so you'd send it along. And, I've been able to handle knives that honestly I would never buy, but ended up loving and did end up buying. I've been able to handle knives that are completely outside of my price range that I would just never ever own. And again, so that's really cool. And so that's a huge benefit, or that's one of the things that I really enjoy about having the channel is getting to check out some cool gear. The one disappointment, I guess, is that you can't keep all of it. And I've had so many awesome knives, and I can't tell you, there are knives that I can think back over that I don't own anymore, that I don't have access to, that I do think to myself, man, that's such an awesome knife, and I kind of miss having it. And I guess maybe that brings us into one of the downsides of the channel. So we'll hold off on that one for a little while. The other point, though, that I really like about the knife community is generally speaking, we don't have to get into a lot of politics, and we don't have to try to outdo one another. I think most of the time we're pretty good to each other in terms of, hey, if I like the Crooked River and I think it's the best knife that's ever made, but you hate it and you just love the Victorinox, that's fine. Okay, we're both into knives and it's good to go. If you if you only ever want to carry a fixed blade and you think anyone who carries a folder is kind of a bozo, again, no big deal. We can all get along and we don't really have to, I don't know, we don't really have to outdo one another. That's also cool about fellow YouTubers in this community anyway. And maybe I'm being naive here. I feel pretty comfortable supporting other YouTubers, conversing with them, collaborating with them. Like we're not really out to get one another. We're not really out to hurt one another or outdo one another. It's just, hey, we're all a bunch of guys who really like this, and there's sort of a level of positivity that I really really appreciate because you really don't find that in all other communities. I know there are other communities where you find it, but it's not. It seems to be that we all get along pretty well in this community, and that's really really enjoyable. So that's my list of all the reasons that I like being a YouTuber, that I like having this channel. Those are all the sort of things that, for me, make it worthwhile spending the time and energy that it takes to keep doing this. Yeah, I agree that the Crooked River is beautiful. Now, the other side of this, let's talk about what I don't love about having a YouTube channel. And probably there's one single biggest factor, and that is the pressure that you feel to perform and to produce. All right. I like to be putting stuff out there that's going to be enjoyable, that's going to be well done, and just because and so it's this constant conflict because of course, you want to make every video, a full Hollywood level production where everything is perfect and everything works and you never misspeak and the lighting is excellent and the timing is excellent. And that's my aim every single time. However, the level of involvement and the level of technology and the level of, what's the one on the top middle row, second from the right? Maybe this one. This is I'll just start naming them all maybe for a second. This is the rake knives. Come on, focus. Just got to keep it down here. Rake knives P848. This is such a cool knife. This one is the Manly Companion. This is the Rake P815. This is the Tops Tebow. This is the Pair 2, Recon 1, Victorinox Forester. I can never remember if this is the F40. This is the F402 Zebra, Cold Steel, Ultimate Hunter. I think that's everything on the table. I've got a flashlight here too somewhere. Oh yeah, the Through Night Archer 1A V3. So that's what everything is here, guys. If you need more clarification, ask again, but hopefully that covers whatever you were looking for. So the downside of having a YouTube channel, all right? Downside is, number one, the pressure to perform, the pressure to produce, all right? And I feel that, in terms of every comment that comes in, I hate letting a comment go by without saying anything, but there really are too many to even try to address. And so what I'll usually do is a little while after a video is made, within the next, 3-4 hours, I'll try to go in and respond to a bunch of the comments. From time to time, if there's a comment on an old video that I feel like I want to interact with, I will. One thing you should keep in mind is that these days, I don't get an email notification for every comment, so I have to check my YouTube notifications. And so sometimes it takes a little longer to respond, where before, and I don't know what makes the difference, but before I used to always get an email notification. Now I only seem to get, I don't know, half of them or something like that. And so there's some pressure to produce new content, there's some pressure to respond to the community, and there's some pressure to do a good job in making videos. And I think all of that pressure is good, and I think it helps to do a better job, but nonetheless, it's still pressure, okay? So finally, the pressure to get the newest stuff. All right, there are times where, there are knives coming out right now that I really want to check out. There are knives that I know you'll be really interested in seeing. And so I really feel like, man, I've just got to go out and get that stuff. And it's not always possible, especially living in Canada. That is such a huge frustration lately. And it's not really just lately. It's always been a little tougher to get knives in Canada. Our market is not as big, so companies don't feel motivated to have to make sure there's availability here. And then there's of course the challenge of the border. And so, you kind of put all that stuff together and it adds a new dimension. Okay. So I'm already anticipating some knives that are coming out and I have to think about, okay, how do I want to get those knives? Are they going to be knives that I keep forever that I want to add to the collection? Or are they just knives that I'm going to check out and then they're going to kind of pass through and I'll, trade them or sell them off? And so you kind of have to think about all that stuff and how you're going to handle it. And then finally, probably the most annoying thing, honestly, all of that, there is some pressure there, but I don't let it get to me. And YouTube is not, a make or break type of thing for me. So if a video doesn't get made, it doesn't get made. If I'm not able to get my hands on a particular knife, I'm just not able to get my hands on a knife. No big deal. Thanks, man. That's a good vote of confidence. Although I do watch some videos myself, and I do see some pretty nice ones out there that probably have a little better editing skill than I do, and have a little better equipment than I do. Um, and I guess more time. That's the biggest thing about editing is just the time it takes to do it. But finally, let's talk about the one last negative side of this, guys, and that is YouTube is really annoying when it comes to yeah, I do know Frankie and Bird message back and forth with them pretty regularly. I really like those two. They do a great job. And we'll see, guys, if one of the things I thought about talking about in this live video is sort of my thoughts on some other YouTubers. And I thought I'd open it up to you guys to request that or ask about that. But I'll get to that in 1 second. Yeah, I really like Frankie and Bird. They've got a really good approach, I think. Anyway, but YouTube is really frustrating and really inconsistent in terms of how they, monetize videos, how they show videos, how they, what's the word? You can, I guess you can do the same thing, okay, all the time, and you can be very consistent in terms of when you release videos. You can be consistent in how long your videos are or how short they are. You can be extremely consistent in all kinds of different variables, and yet, one day you'll get this many views and the next day it'll be like a totally different thing. And it's really, really frustrating because so much of it depends on how YouTube decides to display your videos. All right. And that's right. It's because of the algorithms and it's really frustrating. And I see it in my own news feed, in my own personal YouTube channel. I'm like, YouTube, why aren't I want to see this content? Why aren't you showing it to me? And they just kind of do whatever they want. And all you can do is try to respond. And yeah, so as a creator, that's one really frustrating point. You just don't feel like you have a lot of ability to control your own destiny when it comes to making YouTube content. All right, then finally, let's go back and talk about my overall approach. There's a few things that I try to do in videos. The first one is I want to have fun and I want to keep it pretty casual. So I avoid, for example, typing out a script and just yes, I totally feel your pain. So yeah, the first thing that for me making videos has to be fun, and so I'm not interested, for example, in writing out a script and just reading it off to you guys. That to me is not a conversation. It's not very appealing. And so I don't do that. I take some notes when I make a video. I take some notes about size and weight and some things that I want to make sure I mention. And after that, I just kind of go and talk to you guys. I try to treat it as if I was having a conversation with someone else who's into knives, because to me that's a lot more fun than just, reading off a bunch of notes. Okay, so that's certainly the main part of my approach. The other part is I try to get most things done in one take. Now that doesn't always work. And here's the other thing, and this is going to sound crazy, guys, but I rarely edit pieces together. Okay, so I don't, and I know some YouTubers use this approach, and it can be pretty effective. One of the things I don't do is let's imagine I was doing a review on this Benchmade. I don't sort of talk about the blade and then cut, and then restart and talk about the lockup and deployment, and then cut again, and then restart and talk about the handle, and then cut again. To me, that's too much editing, and I just know I'm going to forget what I'm trying to do and I'm going to get flustered and it's not going to work well. So for me, I really, really try. Hello from Argentina. Hello. Thanks for checking in. Hope you enjoyed the video. I'm just talking here a little bit about my approach to making videos and why I do it the way that I do. And the first one I'm pointing out here is time. And what I'm saying there is number one, I try to get everything done in one take. Number two, I try to have as little editing as possible most of the time. Okay, I do break that rule from time to time. And I'll tell you guys, if you see a video that I've done with a bunch of pictures rolling through and video clips put in and stuff, just know that it's a huge investment in time, okay? And it's a huge pain in the neck. And the monetization from YouTube just is not there, okay? It's negligible. Okay, so that's sort of my approach and why I do it the way that I do it. To save myself some time, to keep it fairly casual, because I feel like it's better to let my personality come through than try to make everything highly produced and highly polished. The other thing is, again, availability. So yeah, I would love it, okay, if every new knife that came available on the market, I just was able to get one on my desk and share it with you guys and share my thoughts about it. I would have to do way shorter videos for sure because I wouldn't have time to, of course, spend getting to know the knives. Hey, Seven Ready, how's it going, man? Thanks for checking in. If you guys you're not checking out Seven Ready's videos, you definitely want to do that. He does a great job. Same with Baz on Blades. He does a good job as well. So he's weighed in the comments here a couple of times. So let's get back to what we were saying. The availability of knives and the time it takes to get a knife is a little longer. So, when it comes to, a new knife comes out, the latest zero tolerance, the reality is the guys who get that knife in the first few days are really going to be able to capitalize on those views. All right. They really are. The truth about it is there's no way that's ever going to be me. Even if I pre-order, even if I ordered the knife, somehow I could have a secret way of ordering it 3 days ahead of time, I would still be late getting a knife because it usually takes a week to a week and a half and sometimes 2 or 3 weeks for me to get a knife that I've ordered. So, if I do the thing where, the minute Blade HQ puts it up, I just order it. Guess what? It's not going to get here for another 3 weeks. Where, somebody like Austin, who has a great channel, lives, just down the road from Blade HQ, he can have it that afternoon and post his video that afternoon. So it just doesn't work. Hey, Shane Miller, how's it going, buddy? Thanks for checking in. So those are all the sort of things that influence how I make videos and why I make them the way that I do. I hope that's somewhat helpful to you guys, and I hope hopefully it offers a bit of an explanation for my particular approach. The one last thing that I want to speak to is this is something I've had a number of questions about before. Hey, how's it going? Let's see. So yes, I am in Canada. Where to buy knives in Canada? Probably White Mountain Knives. If you're ordering from the US, White Mountain Knives does a great job. They're close to the border, so it gets here pretty quickly. And if you are going to buy stuff from in Canada, really about the best is Warriors and Wonders, although they're getting less and less stuff. EDC Gear Reviews just checked in. Thanks a lot for checking in, buddy. I'm just talking about YouTube knife videos, and I've already talked about what's fun about it, what I like, what I dislike, some of the negatives, and I was just wrapping up with, sort of why I approach it the way that I do. Does anyone have a Rubicon 1 for sale? Good luck with that. So now we're finally getting to, do you accept sharpening shears from a mount? No, I haven't gotten into that, and it's because I'm in Canada, guys. I'll just tell you, shipping to and from Canada is expensive. I've had guys ask me to sharpen knives before, and sometimes when someone sends a knife for review, especially if it's something really good, I will sharpen it for them, or they'll say, hey, can I send you a knife to sharpen it, and then you can go ahead and review it, and I will do that. But honestly, it wouldn't make sense. And I'll just give you kind of a quick financial rundown of how it would go. So it costs about 15 bucks to send a package in Canada. So now we're already 30 bucks. That's 15 bucks to get to me and 15 bucks for me to send it back. So $30 has already been spent, and we haven't even sharpened the knife yet. And that's basically why I don't do sharpening. Why don't I do slip joints? I just don't love a lot of slip joint designs. I don't dislike them, but there are very few that really, really connect with me that I really, really enjoy. I've tried lots of different slip joints, and I do like GEC. I do like Northwood knives. They're beautiful, but I just can't see myself carrying it and using it all the time. Uh, Seven Ready. Feel free to use my discount code Seven Ready for 10%. Is that White Mountain Knives, T Ready, that you've got the discount code for? Hopefully you can see that comment below. He's saying he's got a discount code for White Mountain Knives. That's awesome, and I will definitely use it because it's a great site. It's definitely my number one site to order from on eBay by a long shot, and I recommend you guys use them as well if you haven't been doing that. So there we go, guys. That's all the stuff that I've got to share about. Oh wait. I totally I totally blanked on one point that I wanted to make. A couple of people asked me recently why I don't do a lot of cut tests and I don't do a lot of talking about how sharp the knife is out of the box. I love Bark River knives. Yeah, absolutely love them, especially with the Scandi grind. I mean, with the zero grind, they just perform so well. And if I had unlimited resources, I would own like a ton of Bark River knives. Sadly, they're very expensive, and I don't have unlimited resources. So I do enjoy the ones that I've had. I don't think I have any in the collection right now. Um, Thickness behind it, yeah. Okay, so Bark River knives, the thickness behind the edge is amazing because with that zero grind, it, they they're like microscopically thin. It's just fantastic. I have not picked up an Ultramar from Chavez Knives. I don't know, Seven Ready. You know my knife preferences, and all of those knives seem to have 3 and 3/4 inch blades. And because of the 3 1/4 inches, I just am not that into them. I love the way they look for sure. If they make a slightly bigger one, I'll probably pick one up. Uh, but I was just talking about, oh yeah, I don't do a lot of, how sharp was this knife out of the box? And the reason is I don't feel like that matters a whole lot. Okay. Number one, I'm more concerned about how well an edge holds, right? How well does this knife hold an edge? Most knives out of the box are not quite as finely finished as I like them to be. And so I'm gonna strop a knife when I get it at first anyway. I'm gonna put my edge on it with my preferences. And so because of that, I don't really care how sharp the knife is out of the box. And doing sharpness videos on, you know, or doing sharpness demonstrations. Okay, so let's do a little sharpness demonstration. I don't know how many times I see this on a YouTube channel. Okay, and the guy's going, wow, this knife is amazingly sharp. Look how well it cuts paper. And I'm there going, who cares? Right? If I had, give me 15 minutes and I can make a butter knife do that for the 30 seconds that it's going to be on a YouTube video. Instead, I would rather talk about how it's performed for me in actual daily cutting tasks. All right. So that's why I don't talk about initial sharpness. I'm more concerned with how it holds an edge. And the other reason I don't do cut tests on camera is because, right, I don't care what knife it is. Any knife is going to cut for, I never use my knives to cut paper either. So I'm not sure why every knife reviewer feels a need to cut paper on camera, but they just do. Okay, so I did have a question earlier, and that is a guy asked about my preferences when it comes to EDC or fixed blades lately. So I've got a couple of fixed blades here, and here's my thoughts on fixed blades right at this moment. I tend to be really enjoying around 4-inch fixed blades. And let me share my reasoning with you, and you guys can tell me whether you think I'm completely nuts or not. I kind of hope you don't think I'm nuts. Yeah, the Bark River Essential does look really, really nice. And I mean, there's so many. Honestly, when I bought a couple of Bark Rivers recently, I guess not that recently, about a year ago, and when I was trying to find the Bark River that I wanted to buy, it was nearly impossible because they have tons of fantastic knives. They really do. Uh, but the Essential is definitely a good one, no question. So my favorite fixed blade these days, I've been really enjoying around 4-inch blades. So this Rake 815, it's still, I want to, this is about my favorite EDC fixed blade, the Rake 815B. It's the cutting edge is fantastic. I've used this in all kinds of scenarios. I actually dropped this in my tool belt quite a bit. By the way, Real Bush Monkey EDC made me this sort of slip sheath just to drop in my pocket, and I really, really enjoy it. But this knife has done a great job for me, and I absolutely feel like it is about the best EDC fixed blade on the market right now. And I don't care what you want to compare it to. I find it to be fantastic. However, I only rarely carry a fixed blade for EDC. I'd say, one day a week probably. It is nice and light. It's really good. And the best part is this is not the sheath that it comes with. Uh, I don't really feel any issue carrying anything in Canada. In Canada, it's illegal to carry a weapon, but it's perfectly fine to carry a tool. And most police officers that I know, and I know a fair number, I'm a volunteer firefighter, so I interact with other first responders quite a bit. The police officers that I know and that I've interacted with are not going to bat an eyelash over you carrying a folding knife. I suppose in certain circumstances, in certain cities or something like that, you could get a problem, or maybe if there's been a rash of knife crime or something like that. Or frankly, if you're dressed a certain way. Okay, so yes, I'm coming back to the fixed blade story. So the reason I've been liking 4-inch fixed blades is because I find they're just the perfect size for some of those heavy duty cutting tasks. And instead of a large chopper style knife, I normally carry a hatchet. So when I go into the woods, what I like to have is, some kind of a saw. I usually carry the silky saw. I can't remember which one I have anymore, but I like the silky saw. I've got a hatchet. I'll carry a small fixed blade for like food prep, light duty cutting tasks, making feather sticks, stuff like that. And then I'll carry a medium fixed blade, something like the SE6, something like the Cold Steel SRK, something like the Tops Ultimate, what is it, Utah Hunter, which I absolutely love, although I think I'm getting the name wrong. Something like the Survive Knives GSO 4, the 4.0. I've been carrying that. And those knives, I find they're just in that really nice sweet spot where I can get a ton of work done. They've got lots of cutting edge, but they're not really for chopping. Most big choppers I don't love. I find I'd rather just have a hatchet. The one big heavy duty knife that I've been enjoying lately is the Kershaw Camp 18. And the reason I haven't reviewed it yet is because I really haven't. The one last thing that I need to do with it is get it out side by side with a couple of hatchets and see how it compares to those hatchets. Once I've done that testing, then I will have a review ready for the Kershaw Camp 18. But generally speaking, I kind of love it. So when it comes to chopper or hatchet, I definitely lean toward a hatchet. But that also ties directly into, the kind of fixed blades I prefer these days. All right. This knife, the Tops Tebow, is just a little bit small. Okay, and normally I like larger knives. I'm going to tell you guys I do have one exception to this rule, and I missed an opportunity recently, but I do like the Browse Blade Silent Soldier. I've had a couple of different versions of it, and the only one I haven't had is the Ranger. That's the one with the, sort of the more belly to the blade. It's a bit of a, reverse Tanto blade shape there. That one I really, really want to try, but they are super hard to come by. He just did a run and put some up on his website, but I didn't jump on it more in time. Why don't you speak more on Christ on your vids? One reason I love your channel. Yeah, I feel like it's hard to make the transition from Cold Steel Knife on the left, the Ultimate Hunter. Why don't I talk about, I guess, my faith would be a way of putting that, and about Jesus. Look, I will just tell you guys, and everyone can unsubscribe if you want to. I absolutely believe that God created the world. I believe that Jesus was his son. And I believe the most important thing that we can do is understand what that means for each of us in terms of our life here on earth and our life for eternity. I make no qualms about that. And I think I've mentioned that I'm a minister fairly often on my channel. But I do find that it's difficult to sort of make a natural transition from knives to, a discussion about some matter of faith. All right, I do have another channel, and the problem is, guys, when it comes to content for the other channel, I generally spend more of my time doing, preparing for sermons or writing articles for a periodical called the Gospel Herald. And when I put in a whole bunch of work on a particular study that I want to do, by the time I've preached on it, taught a class on it, the other channel is always in season. And the idea behind that is, or maybe, I'm sorry, in season always. And the idea behind that, of course, if you're at all familiar, is the idea that, the truths of Scripture, whether they're, popular or not, whether you like them or not, should be something that is important to you. So just like, certain foods come in season and out of season, like Paul said, you have to preach the word when it's in season and out of season. That is when people want to hear it and when they don't. So yes, I am a minister, and my other channel is in season always. Because I feel like the Word of God should always be in season. It's something we're looking for and worried about. And any of you who want to have a conversation about that, I would love you to shoot me a message. Go over to the Sharp Stuff Facebook page. Look me up there. Look me up in the Always in Season Shake Facebook page, because you never discuss politics, values, and beliefs and religion at the dinner table. Yes. I break that rule fairly frequently, but that is a good principle. So excuse me, guys. So that's kind of why I don't spend a lot of time talking about my faith. I certainly don't make any secret of it. And if you've ever seen any of my news videos or anything like that, you can see all of the commentaries and Bible related books behind me on the shelf. All right. So now that we've covered all of the stuff that I kind of wanted to address in this video, I did want to open it up. It's been 40 minutes, so I'm not going to stay on here much longer, but I did want to open up a little bit of discussion about some other YouTubers, and I want to stay very positive. Okay, there are some videos that I come across that I don't really like, and when I don't like them, I don't hit the dislike button. I just turn it off and watch something else. All right, but there are a lot of other. Oh, thanks, man. Awesome. Use Delicate for 25 bucks from Reddit. Oh, good grab. I will, since we had that whole discussion about, me being a minister and stuff, I will make sure I put a link to my other channel down in the description box below. Okay, that is after this video is, processed by YouTube and put up on the channel. Now, let's get back to what I was saying. I did want to talk a little bit about other YouTubers, because let's be honest, guys, this is a thing. If you are at all aware of the YouTube community, there's a few of us out there. And guess what? Often we disagree. Okay. Now, there are a few knives that come along from time to time where you get a pretty broad level of agreement. And when you see that's a big deal, okay? Because we all have really different preferences. We all have different, values, things that we feel strongly must be available in a knife and must not. But when you see a knife that every single reviewer is pretty positive about, that probably tells you something. Yeah, Ontario Rat 2. I mean, Ontario Rat 1 in D2. Everyone loves it, and there's a good reason for that. It's a freaking awesome knife. This one, the Ultimate Hunter. This is a knife that I don't know of any bad review of it. It's just really, really good. Again, the Para 2, perfect knife. The Boost Blade Smoke would be another one where everyone just seems to love it. How many is too many? Have you guys ever heard the quote from, I'm going to get the person wrong. It is an ugly knife, there's no question, but it functions so well that I don't care what it looks like. Once you get one in hand and once you start cutting with it, it is fantastic. Anyway, what I was trying to say was, yeah, the SR1, is that the Cold Steel SR1 that you're thinking of? It is a good knife. It's a little thick behind the edge for me, but it's definitely a great knife. Hopefully we're both thinking of the same knife. Oh, there we go. Good. So back to my discussion of YouTubers. Yeah, there are a few knives. The Boost Blade Smoke is one that comes to mind. Honestly, the Boost Blade Smoke is such an amazing knife that I cannot get over it. And William Boost, did such a good job in the way he designed that knife, in the way he had we do the production work on it. I'm super happy that he went away from millet knives. Not that I have anything against millet knives, but definitely he wasn't going to hit a price point that was anywhere near the Smoke. And so the Boost Blade Smoke is an amazing quality knife. The design is phenomenal. It feels great in hand. It's super fun to flip. And again, that's a knife where every single reviewer that looked at it was just loved it. And yeah, it is. It's a really, really sweet knife. Exactly. Surge 1914 was just saying that. And there are more guys. There are more knives that we could talk about. Yes, I've seen Cedric's video on the SR1, and it is a good knife, but it is such a tank. I don't know. When I had one and I carried it for quite a while, but I finally decided, if I need a knife that's this strong, then I better be using a fixed blade, and so that's why I ultimately sold it. Any Canadian knife channels? Um, there's not too many. I'm trying to think. Oh, Jake over at Canadian Cutting Edge does a pretty good job. Now, very, very different content. And the one thing I will say, I'm not in love with the fact that Jake will do some clones from time to time. I know I've done it myself too, but I made a decision a while ago, 2 or 3 years ago, to stop, and he hasn't made that same decision. So, hey, I don't want to be negative again about that, but he does a really good job. Very thorough videos, great sort of production value, and Jake is pretty easy to listen to. So that's Canadian Cutting Edge. There's Neil the Knife Guy. He doesn't done a lot of content lately. He used to do more, especially when I was first starting out. I had to see his channel, his videos from time to time, and enjoy them. Who else is there? There's a guy you know what, guys? If I think about it, I will go over to, this is what I'm going to do. I'll go over to the Sharp Stuff Facebook page. That's the Facebook page that's sort of associated with this channel. I'll put a link in the description box below, and I will put a question up there just asking for recommendations for Canadian Canadian YouTube channels. I love all my knives too. I hear you. So that's the first point that I want to make. Yeah, there are some there are a lot of different guys out there, a lot of guys with very different opinions. EDC Jesse. Okay, yeah, and see, there's one I'm not even familiar with. So that's the first point. When you have all these opinions out there, and when they disagree, and when we have to interact, one of the things that I will say is the Riyadh Jav. Do you mean the Jack? Because I really want a Riyadh Jack as well. Anyway, yeah, Riyadh Jack. Yeah, definitely in love with it. Is a Canadian channel. Hunt uploaded in a while. Oh, hasn't uploaded in a while. Okay. So let's get back to our conversation. One of the things that I kind of think about as a YouTuber, and one of the things that I pay attention to is when another YouTuber creates a video, and let's say it's about the Recon 1. Okay. I've reviewed the Recon 1 extremely positively. And guess what? Most of the reviews out there are pretty positive. It's stupid that it won't focus like that. So there we go. And most of the reviews out there about the knife are pretty positive. But let's imagine somebody I really respect and I really think a lot of, Dr. Frunky or Seven Ready, who was here a minute ago, or EDC Gear Reviews, or, Nick Shabazz, reviews a Recon 1 and just hates it. I would definitely be sitting there going, okay, what did I miss? Like I would second guess myself a little bit. I truly would. And you as viewers, kind of have to work through that process for yourselves and say, hey, Hebu, how's it going? You guys have to work through that process for yourself and say, what does this person like in knives? Do they have similar preferences to me? There are some things that I really like. For example, I don't have any good examples of it here, so this is a bad deal. This is not a bad example. Okay, so this rake knife, the 815B, really, really nice knife. It has moderately thick blade stock. It's about an eighth of an inch thick. And to me, I really, really like that eighth of an inch blade stock. And every time I hear Nick Shabazz talk about how a blade is too thick, I'm like, no, don't say that. Yeah, Nick does not like murdery knives. Now, the other thing is, I think when we talk about, for example, Dr. Frunke is a doctor. He's a surgeon, right? Nick is a university professor. Well, those guys are going to have very different needs from their knives, and you can expect those needs to be reflected in their videos. All right, I personally, I spend a lot of time outside. I do a lot of, you know, I do a lot of spontaneous stuff. It's not uncommon for me to swing by. He doesn't live in New York, but he doesn't like scary knives. That's true. But here's the point I'm trying to make, though, guys. When people have different life experiences, all right, that's going to impact the kind of knife they need and the kind of knife they want, and therefore the kind of knife they appreciate. And a knife that just doesn't suit a person's needs very well, it's going to be very difficult for them to do a really positive review about a particular knife. It just is, right? If you're cutting mostly envelopes, then you're never going to need something like a Recon One. And most of the knives that are on the table here are probably going to be overkill for you. For me, I like the idea that, if I'm carrying this knife and I decide to go out in the woods, hey, I'm kind of set. It can handle most of the things that I'm going to throw at it on a given day. Even if I'm just driving in my car, I do a lot of my own sort of backyard mechanic-y type stuff. I want a knife that I can depend on as a tool. I want a knife that I can, cut a hose with or something like that and not have to worry about whether or not it's going to damage the blade or whether the lock is going to fail on me or anything like that. So I tend to lean toward heavier duty, larger knives. The other thing is, I'm in Canada, and because of that, I guess let me be clear. I'm in a small town in Canada. And because of that, I can carry just about anything you could imagine, right? And I have carried a Raja 2 around, right? And no one in my small town batted an eyelash. Number one, most people know me. Okay. Number two, you may go a whole day without, having having close enough contact with another person that they're like, hey, what's that knife in your pocket? Okay. And number three, a lot of people are carrying, knives and saws and axes and every other kind of thing because we're kind of yeah, exactly. So now you see where I'm going with this. So I can enjoy big knives to a greater extent than some other people can. If I lived in Toronto, you would see different stuff. No, I hate Nickelback. Okay, here's my position on Nickelback. I know this is not a music channel, but I absolutely believe that Nickelback would not be successful during any other time but right now. And because right now there's kind of a vacuum when it comes to good rock and roll music, and when there's no one else good out there to compete with, someone who kind of sucks can kind of have a little bit of success. So that's my take on Nickelback. But back to knives. That's I hope that does a little bit in April wine. Oh, I love April wine. Yes, absolutely. So yeah, when it comes to different reviewers, I think our different lifestyles and the different things that we do with our knives has a big impact on what we think of them. Unsubbed for the Nickelback. Would you like to bring up a few other bands and see what I think of them as well? Uh, um, I don't like Britney Spears either. So if you're a huge Britney Spears fan, you can go ahead and unsub as well. Anyway, okay, let's get back to our subject at hand, and that was just the differences between YouTubers. I think it has a lot to do with, the kind of lifestyle we live, the things that we do with our knives or don't do with our knives. Well, yeah, for the Britney hate. Um, I don't even know who Nickelback is. Listen, you are better off. You're a lucky man not knowing who Nickelback is. So coming back to the discussion, what you need to do is watch a few of us and try to get a handle on who has similar preferences to you. All right. The other thing is look for detail. All right. I think, an important thing is, and this is something I do try to do, is even if a particular point isn't a big deal for me, right? Let's pick on this one again. So lanyard hole here going through the blade. Well, do I care at all about this lanyard hole? No, I don't. I don't like lanyards. I would not put one through there. So to me, as long as it doesn't interfere with my grip, you do whatever you want with the lanyard hole, right? But I know that there are some of you who do care about the lanyard hole and you don't want, something that say won't fit a piece of 550 cord. So I try to mention that in my reviews. Yeah, and there are. So one quick note on what kind of music I like. I generally like rock music. I like it to have instruments. Okay, I always give my wife a hard time. She listens to sort of that poppy stuff, and I'm like, honey, you realize this whole song was just created by a computer, right? They recorded this person sing two notes, and then they fed it through a computer and created a song out of it. Anyway, yeah, I like the Stones. I like a lot of classic rock. I like a lot of Zero Tolerance's Nickelback, Knives. um, yeah, that's true. So, okay, guys, we got to wrap this up. We are all over the place. Yeah, so I like a lot of music. I'm not a huge country fan, although when I'm playing guitar and playing some songs for the kids, I'll always play some Johnny Cash. They really like A Boy Named Sue and a few other Johnny Cash songs, so I try to strum away at some of those. There and I don't normally listen to it a lot, although I can listen to some Johnny Cash. I like some vocal stuff. Yeah, I like bluegrass music. Every once in a while, my hands don't move fast enough for me to play it, but I do like to listen to it. Johnny Cash is the Chris Reeves of the knife world. I've turned into Casey Kasem. Beautiful. All right. Knife video. Yeah, knife destruction videos. Again, I'm sure I could get more views if I started breaking all of the knives. Did you buy a new gun recently? No, I didn't. I haven't bought a new gun in a little while. The gun I've been shooting the most lately is my M&P9, and I love that thing. I've been having such a fun time with it. Waylon Jennings. Yeah, okay, guys, I'll give you a confession here. When I was growing up, my mom and my grandparents definitely loved Do Something with Frankie and Bert. We've talked about it before about a collaboration video, and it's just one of those things that we haven't gotten around to. I've also talked pretty seriously. The Apostle P and I emailed back and forth about a collaboration video. I've done a collaboration video with Nick. I haven't done one with Dr. Frunky, but I really need to. I've done a collaboration with Seven Ready, Nick, and a couple other YouTubers that worked out pretty well. But I'll tell you guys, it is a lot of work to do a collaboration video. If you're gonna do, if you see the YouTube channels where they'll have like sort of the two faces side by side, the software to do that and the demands on your video hardware on your computer are really, really stiff. And I don't think I could actually physically do that kind of video. So what we'd have to actually do is record two separate videos and edit them together, which, wouldn't work as well. I had envisioned in a couple of collaboration videos, or for a collaboration video, I had envisioned sort of a real-time conversation, sort of like what we're doing now, where you can hear me live. But in this case, it would be, me talking with another YouTuber. And I really, really wanted to do it, but I'm just limited by my technological abilities. Yes, I do. I like big knives. The Spyderco Resilience is one that I've thought about an awful lot. And I just haven't pulled the trigger on. I'm not in love with the Tenacious. Okay, so when I was first getting into knives and I was watching all the reviews on the Tenacious and everyone seemed to really like it, I thought, man, I really need a Resilience because I would like something bigger than the Tenacious. But since that time, I just feel like there are too many other knives that I prefer over it. That one of these days I'll probably get one in hand and I'll probably make a review. Just because I'll get one in a trade or someone will have one and send it to me for a review or something. but I'm not in a huge rush to run out and buy a Spyderco Resilience. Anyway, guys, I'm going to wrap it up there. It's been 55 minutes. My kids have got to go to bed, so that means I've got to sign off. Unless you want to listen to me tell my son a story about a superhero or a spy or something like that. Chris Reeve is the Billy Joel of the knife world. I've thought about doing a podcast. Maybe that would work. Listen, guys, thanks a lot for checking in. I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope those of you who watch later, after this is recorded and posted to YouTube, will enjoy it. It won't be too random and all over the place, but I know it kind of is. Bottle of red, bottle of white. There you go. Okay, we'll talk to you guys later.